Hello, welcome. While everyone is joining us and the numbers are rising, I will say good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those joining us from further afield in the world, no matter where you are. So we'll just get started in a few minutes. So while we're giving everyone a chance to log on, please do drop in the chat where in the world you are joining us from. We would love to see how far the reach is for everyone joining us. So if you are able to pop in where you are in the world into the chat. Oh, we've got Italy. Let's see. Anyone else? Oh. Oh. Let's see where we're coming from. Everybody's coming from different places. Let's have a look. Singapore, Brazil, India. We have a truly global connection here. Let's see, we've got Vienna, Canada. Right. Right, so we'll go ahead and start. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and welcome to the fifth episode in our Alumni in Action, Leveraging Finance for Social Impact webinar series. So we are joined by guest alumni from our executive education impact finance programs here at the University of Oxford Said Business School. So just to give you a bit of an overview, this webinar will last about an hour. It will be recorded and sent out in a follow-up email soon. So for those who registered, as well as being added to our YouTube playlist, which we will drop into the chat shortly. So we have added the link to our social impact YouTube playlist so that you can have a look at what is on offer from previous webinars. So these webinars are usually led by alumni, program directors, faculty, guest speakers on a range of topics like sustainability, IMM, systems thinking, innovative finance, or even how to ace your Oxford application. So during this webinar, there will be some time for some Q&A with each of our speakers. So please do put your questions in the Q&A section rather than in the chat so they can be answered live as we go along. So hopefully this webinar will provide a unique opportunity to hear about the transformative impact of our programs, how they may have shaped career goals, shifted perspectives, or the innovative projects that our alumni have been working on since. So it will also give you an opportunity to find out more about our impact programs individually later on. So first, I will give an introduction to my team. So my name is Tennille Ballard, and I'm one of the program consultants leading on our impact portfolio of short programs within executive education. So this includes the upcoming Impact Investing program in February, the Impact Measurement program in June, the Sustainable Business program in September, and the Impact Finance Innovations program commencing in November. So joining me today is my colleague and program sales manager, Carrie Reed. Carrie, do you want to say a quick hello?
Thanks, Tennille. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Carrie Reed. I am Programme Sales Manager, looking after our impact portfolio, so oversee all of our impact programmes. I also have the pleasure of organising us attending events and alumni drinks, so events like AVPN, GIN, Impact Europe. I have the pleasure of engaging with our alumni. So it's fantastic to be here, and thank you for joining. I'll pass back to Tennille to kick off the alumni.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, so if you want to connect with us on LinkedIn, you can scan our QR codes there. As Carrie mentioned, we often host events or have networking events at a lot of our conferences around the world. So we will be attending Impact Europe in 2 weeks' time. So absolutely look for myself that will be attending there in Malmö, Sweden. So if you'd like to reach out, please do so. So we are delighted to have join us today, two of our esteemed alumni. So we have Helena and Patrick, who have attended between them three of our current Impact Finance programs. So if you have any questions for them as we go along, please do put them in the Q&A, and hopefully we can answer them live for you. So I will now pass over to our 2018 Impact Investing and 2019 Impact Measurement alumna, Helena Riese Harstad, to introduce herself and tell us about her work. So over to you, Helena.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. And thank you for having me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and how I got into impact investing. And then hopefully we can have some questions and I'll be able to answer all of your questions. That's the hope. So to begin with, I was banking and financing lawyer, come from a commercial background. And in 2017, I co-founded Optimizer Foundation, an early stage impact investor, investing in parts of Africa. So Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana. I would say that when we started out back in 17, I came from a purely commercial background, having worked with banks and transactions. My team, very small but lovely team, had more of an impact background, but I felt like I needed to up my skills a bit. So I joined the impact investing program in 2018. And back then, I was asked, like, why did you choose Oxford? And I would say that back then, I mean, Oxford being Oxford, who wouldn't want to be in Oxford? But also, there wasn't much to choose from, and Oxford stood out as an expert in this field. So I wanted to join Oxford for all of these reasons. When I started my journey as an impact investor, we went into it with having to place a strategy in place. We needed to know, okay, what stage are we investing in? What kind of ticket size do we have? What kind of sectors are we investing in? And we had put that in strategy in place before me attending the program. However, as you might know, that when you are assuming a lot of things and you go into new markets and you're trying new things, new innovative things, you don't always get everything right. So I showed up to the impact investing program with a lot of questions and a lot of, we had tried many things and we had our strategy in place, but I wanted to know what good looked like. I wanted to know what everyone else was doing. How are they thinking about due diligence? And we had structure. I don't know if you've heard about Acumen, but we were structured in a similar way that we had as their original fund, that we raised philanthropic capital to make for-profit investments. And any return on capital, we wanted to recycle back into the market. We did this for a few reasons. One was to stay impact first, which is a now fairly old expression, but back then it was what we tried to do to get, because our funders wouldn't get their money back, so they wanted to see impact, and this was a way to make sure that what we did would stay deep, both in impact and in how we grow with the companies in our portfolio. Another thing was to reinvest in Africa. So we knew that we came in as an investor on the continent, and we wanted the returns to be reinvested in the same markets. So this was another way to ensure that we could do this. Anyway, I showed up to the Impact Investing Program 2018, and I didn't quite know what to expect, but I had hope to get best practices, to learn, and to maybe best case scenario, I would leave with a set of kind of ideas that I could bring to my team. What happened was really the beginning of a relationship, I would say. So I ended up forming a lot of new relationships with my peers at the course. I was also very lucky enough to get to know some of the presenters on the course, and also to be part of the alumni cohort. And I must say that all of these things have helped me since then, since 2018, in a very, very practical and direct way. So the conversation started in Oxford, but it has continued since, which I think is the best way to describe my experience. I did indeed get best practice with me, which was great. I think that I was able to ask all of my questions. I was probably incredibly annoying, and I just wanted to know, how are people doing this? How do I solve for this? Okay, so we are a bit, I think that we are too late stage. I think we need to go earlier stage, but then the risk, and so all of these conversations, that when you have an idea and you go into a market, that is one thing, you have things on paper. But then you start investing, and all of these challenges come up one after one, and you're like, okay, how do I solve for this? How do I think around this? So I think that for us, we started seeing us as a learning organization. We realized that we needed to be a bit flexible to allow those learnings to shape how we did things. To give a very practical example, because when I joined, we had already started to invest. And one of the things that we realized was that when we invest, we have some of what Gail Peterson calls wicked problems. Like, you will have some of the impact will be amazing and positive, but then you will have other things that are tricky to navigate. And does that mean that you don't invest just because there are negatives, or does it mean that you have the conversation, you try to, and you still invest, but you are mindful and you try to set a course? So those things were incredibly valuable to discuss. Another very practical example that I had was surveys. So how do you reach the end customer and know whether or not this particular company has a valuable service or product to offer the market? And me and my team, we had discussed that we can't do a 250 people plus survey and do this statistically secured, because we didn't have at that point funding for that, and we also didn't have the personnel, and we were quite a small team. So I brought that question up in the 2018 setting, and they said it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be something that you can share academically. This can be part of your DD. You can go out, you can have a conversation with 40 people on the street that are a representative of the end customer. You can follow up with that, because that will still give you information. That will still be helpful. That will still give you insight into whether or not this product or service is indeed impactful. I think that taught me how that there are always options to improve the way you think about impact, the strategies you put in place, and also depending on your size as an organization. We were a small organization. There are certain organizations that are absolutely huge and they can do more and different things. But what we can do as a small organization is that we can be a learning organization. We can be fast and flexible, and we can do these kind of things. So after that, in parallel to that, I was also an angel investor into climate companies. So I built since 19 a portfolio of 10 companies that has been where I've been part of Green Angel Syndicate, which has an abbreviation called GAS. So we realized that maybe we shouldn't have that. We should have Green Angel Venture, but I'm quite stuck. Back then, we were less than 100 people, angel investors coming together, doing due diligence together and investing in early stage climate companies. Today, we are well above 300 and a quite big organization. I am still part of that, and I'm also an investor in Green Angel Syndicate. So I think for both of these kind of parallel tracks of mine, career-wise, I've had some really good use of both the impact investing program and the impact measurement program, which I did as a follow-up on 19. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to pause and see if there are questions from you, Tonya. But I think that all in all, I think that when you embark on an impact journey, you need, or a very, very good thing to have is good company. And to have people to turn to and ask, how did you solve for this? Which consultant did you get help from when you needed to invest in Ghana in a particular thing? Or like all of these practical hands-on questions. How do you solve for this? And I must say both the courses, the alumni community, and also to mention the WhatsApp chat we have, because it's alive and kicking. So every day there are questions from someone asking something, needing quick advice. Anyway, so that is my my intro, and then Tonielle, please feel free to ask me some follow-up question.
Yeah, of course, Helena. We've actually got a question that's come into the Q&A for you. It says, I lead Private Sector Foundation Uganda as Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the impact-driven 30-year-old apex private sector body of Uganda, which convenes 330 business associations across 13 sectors that mirror Uganda's economy. So she's looking forward to insights on scaling the impact and attracting finance. She is planning on joining us for the impact investment at some time in the future. But do you have any insights that you can share on scaling that impact and attracting that finance?
I mean, I think that sounds great. Well done, you. And I think that you will have a lot of. I think that you will have a lot of. I think that the question disappeared before my eyes now, but so I don't quite see the question anymore. But I think that scaling anything. I mean, now we're talking about Africa in particular. I think that one of the challenges that we see in Uganda or Kenya that we've had experienced is that you sometimes, when you have an idea, a product or a service, you need to connect them to other sectors and other services that are already available, and that can sometimes be a bigger challenge on the continent, that you need to have more solutions than that just your own. Because if you need to make transactions, you also need someone to help you transfer the money. Or if you are developing electric vehicles, you need someone to have charging stations, or you have to build the charging stations yourself. And all of these things, I think that it's very helpful to have a good network and to know what other people are doing and how they've solved for those issues. And I think that there is a lot of exciting companies and a lot of exciting things going on in the market, and I just feel like a community there will be invaluable.
Absolutely. And our alumni community is so global that when you do need that outside perspective, hopefully we can still provide that for you. And as you say, the connections you've made have been really helpful. So I guess my only question is, what advice would you give those who are about to start their applications or are sort of on the edge of thinking about applying? What advice would you give them in relation to how these impact programs, were during the course of the week?
Yeah, I think there are probably two. I would guess that you have two separate sets of people excited to join. I think one of them are probably working commercially right now, so they're not in impact investing, but they feel like that would be a meaningful step to take in their career. They are curious and want to know more. They might be in a job that can transform into a more impact-oriented or impact investing oriented role, or they want to quit their job and start somewhere else, but they need some kind of push, or you have people working in the industry already. They might have been working with impact investing for a long time. It can be quite lonely if you don't have a community. So I think that the push I would give for these two separate groups are different. I think that if you are currently in a commercial role and you're curious and you want to explore what impact investing looks like and the career opportunities there, and how you can make the transfer from one to another, I think that this course can provide you with a good network and good understanding about what is out there, what are people doing within, you know, if you're an accountant, or if you're a lawyer, or if you're an investor, or if you are, so whatever you sit on, how will that, and you might also have people in different foundations that want to make the step into impact investing, but coming from a more grant making organization. And that is also very interesting, because I think that is one of the steps that many grant making organizations are thinking about right now. And I think that this program is right, whether or not you're in it, if you're in impact investing, or if you are coming from the outside moving in, whether or not you're coming from a commercial side or you're coming from a grant making side. So I think that just do it. It's fun.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
gives you a lot.
Definitely. There's one more question for you, Helena, if you've got a bit of time
Absolutely.
there. So it says, I am wondering how to build how you build your pipeline and find impact ventures to invest. Do you make open calls, or do you focus more in direct references? And how do you deal with the due diligence process for tickets as yours, up to sort of 150K US dollars?
Great question, Antonio. So how we started out was we collaborated with a lot of other impact investors that were already in the market. So we had ongoing conversations with them, because very often you have a slightly different set of investment criteria, so and sectors and stage. So we would also refer companies to each other, and sometimes it was an overlap and we could become co-investors. So other impact investors in the market was a big one. We also talked to experts, so different types of expert, because we were doing education and health and youth employment, which means that we would connect with different types of experts and universities. That was kind of a hub for that. Also accelerators, and keeping in close touch so that they knew that we exist, that we are existing. And then they can refer to us. It was also, once we had built a portfolio and we've been in the market for a while, other entrepreneurs would mention our names, because they felt that we were a good and reliable investor. So they would refer their peers to us. I think that once you're the hardest bit, I would say, is in the beginning, when you're trying to establish a reputation and you try to squeeze yourself in. After a while, everyone knew that we were very early stage. We were very often the first institutional investor that they met, alongside other in that round. And then they would find out our names. We would also be present at conferences like Sankalp, which was an important one for us. And then just talk to people in general. So that is how we built pipeline. Due diligence was very, very we had a process for it. So we would do a two-stage. The first stage was to see if there was two things. So one was, do we believe that there is a market for this service or product? So that would be our first. Alongside, do we feel like this product or service is impactful? And that would be a quite quick one. And if that was a yes, then we would get into the deep one, where we would do a legal, commercial, team, and impact DD that would go much deeper. So that would take us, we were still, I think, regarded as pretty quick. So that would take us 4 to 6 weeks. And then we had an IC who would decide, and we did a memo and an IC. We would very often try to collaborate with other impact investors, because sometimes you focus on different things. So we were quite good with tech. So we had a good tech team that could do a tech due diligence, and not every other impact investor had that. So we could then share our insights. and maybe someone else had something else that they were diving deeper into. So that was our process. And you have to also keep the cost of the due diligence at reasonable, because when you have small ticket sizes like we did, 150, you can't have the similar amount for a DD. So we try to keep the cost down. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, a flood of questions have come in. So I think what we'll do is if Helena can answer any of those through the Q&A, we will
Yep.
do, and we can circle back around towards the end if we have a bit more time, because there's a few questions around, a circular economy startup and strategic positioning for those initiatives. Key learnings from the impact investing course, market integration and policy shaping. So I'll leave those to you for the time being. And we will say hello to Patrick. So I will now hand over to our 2023 Impact Finance Innovations alumni, Patrick Nussbaumer, to introduce himself and tell us about his work. Over to you, Patrick.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Daniel, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be part of it. Glad to be invited as an alumni to talk about my experience and the way this course has influenced my career and the way I operate. So Patrick Nussbaumer is my name. I am a program director for climate and environment, and I'm working for the UBS Optimus Foundation. Maybe just by way of introduction, the UBS Optimus Foundation, in a nutshell, is a philanthropic arm of the bank. This is where we work with our clients to mobilize their capital towards positive impact, and we do that for health, education, and environment. In terms of my background, I am an engineer by training, and I spent the first few years of my career building power plants, and I have done a postgrad in environmental sciences. I stress this background, and I'll come back to this just to note that there are different paths leading towards innovative finance and impact investments. In fact, when I took the course, I was working for the United Nations, which was a great opportunity for me to get acquainted with challenges and opportunities in supporting private sector development in the global south, but it is also when I realized the role of finance in driving some of the systemic change that we would like to achieve. So back to UBS Optimus Foundation, I'm leading a portfolio of climate and environment undertaking. So I develop and manage solutions, projects, and investments for our clients. And referring to Helena's comment on the dichotomy between ground making and investments, you could argue that where we are is where ground making and investment meet. Essentially, we look at this as a continuum of solutions going from traditional ground making all the way to mainstream investments, always with this impact perspective in mind. So what drives me, what makes my heart beat faster is really to think, develop, and look for solutions to deploy the capital that we can access, which has very specific characteristics in that it is patient, it is risk tolerant, but it is also scarce. So deploy that capital in a way that we can maximize the impact, and that includes looking for ways to play a catalytic role. So not everything can be solved through market forces, but where it is possible, it is definitely powerful. So I'm a believer that some of the contemporary challenges that we are dealing with, poverty, environmental issues, climate change, etc., not only are solvable, but they're also investable. But they're investable under certain conditions, and this is where, from a philanthropic perspective, we like to play a role to deal with those conditions to essentially make what is allegedly uninvestable to make it investable. So how best to talk about my work besides to bring a concrete example. So I'm looking at the moment, as we speak, to look into making an investment into an impact bond for small-scale fisheries in Indonesia. So again, if you look at this, from an investment perspective, it is not very appealing. It is small, it is emerging markets, it is a sector that doesn't generate a lot. So again, the key there is to find ways, clever ways, innovative ways to align stakeholders and structure the capital in such a way that to make that appealing. So the role that we have played in that construct as Optimus is essentially to incubate the idea. So how can we provide financing to small-scale fisheries in Indonesia in a way that makes sense for the people doing fisheries and relying on that sector for a livelihood, create that positive impact and make sure that the founders and investors are comfortable. So we created a structure, and that is an impact bond that is able to do that. And now that this is in place, we are engaging again using our clients to essentially fund the outcomes. And the good thing about this structure is that now, from a philanthropic perspective, what we are doing is essentially to fund verified outcome. So we're not talking about supporting activities and hoping for the best, but we are really moving the discussion to focus on the outcome, and we deploy that capital only if and when that outcome has been achieved. So essentially shifting the risk to the different stakeholders that are able to do this. And the way this program in Oxford has been able to help me this is essentially to understand the options, to engage in those discussions. By no way am I an expert in this field. As you have heard from my background, I'm not a finance guy, I'm not a banker, but I have sufficient understanding of those issues, both on the way the capital can be deployed, as well as on the way the capital can be attracted and structured to engage in those conversations. And also, with my background in the public and the private sector, I'm able to bring the different stakeholders that are required for those structures. Maybe a couple of words about how instrumental this program has been and how quickly I've been able to implement the learnings. For me, that has been absolutely immediate, and I think that has been immediate, and that's maybe something that I want to leave with the audience, has been immediate because it came at a time that was following a number of years of reflection on my head. Now, where do I want to move my career? Where do I want to be in a couple of years' times? And what do I need to do to be able to go where I want to go? So it responded to a need. It responded to an aspiration professionally. But again, that idea has been brewing in my mind for a while. So maybe a 2-cent piece of advice for the people on the call. Think about where you want to be. Think about your career objective, not in 10 years, but in 2 years, because this field is evolving so quickly. And then think about what the course you need to achieve those objectives. In my case, that has allowed me to pivot professionally, and then work for a financial institution without being a banker. What also played a role, I want to stress here, is the reputation of the institution. Now, let us face it, there is a name that does matter when you are trying to make a move professionally. What I particularly enjoy, aside from from the substance and the tools and the insights that I gain, I do think that there is a massive value in this course in developing your network, creating a network, and those benefits I'm actually still making the most of it. No, like Helena, I'm part of those WhatsApp groups where there are exchanges on a daily basis. No, I'm about to do work on regenerative agriculture in Kenya. Can someone suggest a consultant to structure innovative finance there? So there's a lot that is of value beyond the course that was there. There also is a lot in terms of peer learning. So aside from the critical input from the lecture, believe it or not, but 2 years down the line, we are still meeting with one of the working group that was created during the course. So we still have the quarterly catch-up, the 4 or 5 of us, and we exchange notes and exchange experience and exchange on challenges and try to help each other. Similarly, around events, I was in Building Bridges in Geneva a month ago. We did catch up for breakfast with Oxford alumni, again, to nurture this community and keep on growing as a group. So, Toniel, back to you. I hope this has been useful by way of introduction and to illustrate the way the impetus from this course has groomed the professional that I am, and to some extent steer the career that I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just it made me think of what you said about transitioning, and a lot of the applicants or the people I speak to that are kind of looking at these sorts of programs are in a transition phase. They have either, just left their companies, or they're planning to move into the impact space from a traditional background. And so we do get a lot of transitional things where they've taken the time to reflect on how they want to move forward. So that being said, do you feel that the sort of, the way the world has changed, as you say, do you feel that the sort of current geopolitical climate has changed your impact strategy since taking the program?
So there has been, I think, tectonic shifts in the landscape, no? From the perspective of how important or not sustainability issues might be, from the perspective of the way people and institutions are structuring their work and talking about their work around sustainability, but also in terms of the availability of funding for some of those issues. No, we've seen a drastic reduction in many countries on official development aids, which is impacting a lot of the programs and the social enterprises that we're involved in and supporting. But I don't think that this is all doom and gloom, to be honest. And to answer your question, I think there also is a lot to look forward to. As far as philanthropy is concerned, I think there is a recognition in this space that there is a key role to play in this evolving landscape, and one role that is becoming even more important than it was before. But it is also asking key questions that I think are of relevance for innovative finance and impact investing. No? So if we assume that the resources that we have available is finite or possibly declining, what is it that we can do to maximize the impact that we can create with what we have, or what we have less of? So I think it's triggering a lot of healthy discussion on how we can move the dial in spite of the headwinds that we might feel, and that definitely speaks in favor of going into innovation around business models and financing to find ways to overcome some of those challenges and then use the momentum that has been built.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just the way in which we communicate, and the goal remains the same. It's just how you communicate it may change. So thank you so much. We had a bit of a general question, but I see Helena's typing her answer to this question, but I'll address it to you as well, Patrick, because I think it's quite an interesting take, and everybody has a different answer to it. So Mohammed has written, impact is quite a general word. How do you define its range, and how do you gauge it?
Yeah, this is a good question, no? Mohammed, and to us, or at least to me, conceptually, academically, the way I look into this, I've been influenced a lot by the work of Amartya Sen, no, the Indian economist, which looks into this as development as freedom, no. So development is essentially giving people opportunities to choose, opportunities to define the way they want to lead their life, define the way they want to make their livelihood and spend the money that they have. So from that perspective, that question is very relevant. It depends is the answer, and for us, really, it is. The local communities and the stakeholders that we're trying to support, the impact, ought to be defined from their perspective. Now, of course, that you have to aggregate at some point. And as I said in the introduction, we are focusing mainly on health, education, and environment and climate. So we're looking at those issues from that perspective. But really, the impact is essentially making sure that people can lead the life that they aspire for.
Absolutely. And, with each of these programs, our program directors tend to, ask this question because the answer can vary. But as you say, it's an SDG focus. It can be personal. It can be organizational. And I think the answer is really just, having an impact, doing good without doing any harm, is the general answer, but the complicated answer is individual. So I'm gonna give you the sort of last question that I asked as well of what your advice would be to give those who are about to start their application or are thinking of applying.
Going back to the point that I made before, be ruthless in terms of scratching your heads and thinking about where you want to be, where you want to go. The courses out there, including those offered by Oxford, they're all very appealing. If I could, I would do all of them. But I think you really have to go through an introspection and think about where you are and where you want to go in the near future, and what are the things that you need that the course can offer you, and what are the things that you won't get in the course, and that you should be better off acquiring before, during, and after the course to get to that objective that you have set yourself.
Absolutely. Just to, if I recall, you were a scholarship recipient for your program. Was that right? Perfect. Yeah. So we do have scholarship opportunities to make it a little bit easier, especially for people that are transitioning into different sectors or different areas of interest, or are new to impact as well, and their budgets may be a little bit tighter. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe just one more word on this idea of transition, because oftentimes it has a little bit of a negative connotation, no? Midlife crisis. What do I do with my life? And going back to I don't think this is a bad thing, and I don't think transition is a big word. It's essentially an evolution of your career. This is the way I see it, no? And particularly the space of innovative finance and impact investing requires a mix of skill set and experience. So to those on the call, don't feel bad and don't take a defensive perspective if you feel that you are in a transition in your career. Rather the contrary. My own experience is that people and institutions involved in this space, they actually welcome, they do need people coming from different walks of life.
Absolutely, and that diversity is really important to us as well. So on my team, we are striving for that diversity of perspective, for that diversity of location, and to make sure that we get all walks of life to enrich your experience. So that's really important. So yeah, and as you say, I can give a bit of an overview on these programs going into it. So thank you so much, Patrick, for sharing your stories and your experiences. If any other questions pop up, in the Q&A. I will address those closer to the end. So I will now share with you a bit of a quick overview of the programs which Helena and Patrick have attended. So we have got the, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the Oxford Experience photos. Yes, the photos. So these were some photos that were submitted from Helena and Patrick that show the various aspects of your experience with us. And as you notice, they're not necessarily classroom photos. So Patrick went for a run in the mornings, and so he took some really beautiful, quiet photos of the early morning of what Oxford looks like before it's bustling and full of people at sunrise. It looks like part of the walking tour. They do a walking tour around Oxford sometimes with some of these programs. There's pub nights out, there's college dinners. So I think Helena shared some of her photos from those experiences. Do you guys want to add anything to the photos that you've shared?
I do want to add something. For me, impressive was the prestige of the place, no, and this ability to be immersed and taking that experience. No, for example, we were taken to a debate. No, the true Oxford experience. You're in the middle of a debate on some of the critical issues, but very nice experience aside from the classroom, Daniel, as you said.
Oh, the debates are so much fun. So much fun. Yeah. Helena, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think that one of the things that was the upside of going to kind of various pub nights and meeting people out of the classroom is that when you're in the classroom, it's a little bit like everyone is very bright and come across as very skilled, and everyone is raising their hands and asking questions that are very tricky to answer. And there is some excellent professors and teachers that will answer them. Everything is very. Once you get out of that and you have a glass of wine, or you could just you don't have to drink, obviously, but when you're in another setting, all of a sudden people are a bit more like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I am working at a bank. I have no idea how to get into impact investing. How do I even do that? And then all of those more real issues that people are thinking about is coming out. And I think that to bond over that, your lack of experience or your nervousness about not being enough in this situation, that is also extremely helpful. So to not only have the classroom setting, but also kind of bond and interact and laugh and be like, or question something, there might be a lesson and you're like, but that doesn't seem quite right. Did that seem quite right to you? And then you can kind of get into a discussion about that. So I think that to have these layers of ways to interact with others over impact investing, it's extremely, for me, it was incredibly helpful. And I must say that also in the impact measurement program, in a way, you go deeper into the actual measurements of things. And if you are new to that, that can be a bit like, okay, I haven't even moved into impact investing yet, and now I'm going to learn about measurements. But it does make sense because it can help you shape a strategy if you're in that place, or to get you inspired into how do we actually, because there was a question about impact and there was a question about measurement. And just to add to that, I think that when we do any investment, a completely commercial investment, that will have a positive or negative impact on our world. The way we invest is the world we're going to get. So I think that impact and measurements are not, it's like when we talk about impact investing, that is something that I define quite, you've seen on my answer that this is how I define it, impact investing. But I think the impact as such, to report both on positive and negative impact, to have that kind of transparency and to learn about what we invest in will shape the world or impact the world one way or another, to start that way of thinking and to discuss that with others, is incredibly helpful.
And having it in a academic setting as well as a casual setting can change and shift the way that you think about it as well. I've seen entire new companies created at these pubs in Oxford, just based on, conversations and brainstorms that were had in the classroom. And over the course of the years, some really beautiful things have been created over the course of 5 days, which has been really incredible. So thank you for sharing your photos and showing that, we do work hard and play hard. So as I said, we do have some programs upcoming. We have the Impact Investing Program, if we can show that one. So that one is coming up on February 2nd. This program only has a handful of places left. So if you are interested in applying, please scan the QR at the end of the webinar, and applications will be closing around the end of the month, beginning of December. So this just kind of gives you an overview of what the challenges are that are addressed in this program, who it's for, and that list is not exhaustive, obviously. And then if you can check out our website, there are some blogs and testimonials on there. So on the right-hand side are some recent ones where they've shared their perspectives and what they're working on. And those are alumni for the Impact Investing Program. So the next one, after Impact Investing, we have our Impact Measurement Program, which commences on the 15th of June. So applications for this program have just opened. They do typically fill by March because these programs run only once a year. It's really important to get those applications in quickly. And then finally, we have our Sustainable Business Program and our impact, excuse me, in September, and our Impact Finance Innovations Program, which actually commences next week and has already been onboarded for the newest cohort for 2025. But this program will return again on the 9th of November of 2026. So applications will open for that in December. So with any of our programs, they do typically fill about 6 months in advance of the program commencement, and then they begin waitlisting. Onboarding commences 4 to 6 weeks from the program start, and each of these programs do offer scholarship awards, which typically run for 1 month in February, June, and September. However, that can shift slightly based on demand, I should say. So there are opportunities there for you. So just a few upcoming events that we have going on. As I mentioned, this is the 5th in our Alumni in Action series for our webinars, so keep an eye out. In the meantime, we do have one coming up on the 11th of November, AI and the Future of Impact Finance, What is at Stake? This is going to be hosted by our Impact Investing Program Director, Gail Peterson. And she will talk and mediate with some fellow speakers like Phyllis Costanza, who is often a regular speaker on our Impact Investing Program, as well as our Associate Fellow, Peter Hinton. So we also have this is followed by the Sustainability in Practice, Designing a Playbook for Real Change webinar with our Sustainable Business Director, Mary Johnstone Lewis, and she will be joined by David Benatar, who is also one of our EMPA students, an author, co-author, and they will talk about creating that playbook for sustainable change. So if you are thinking of applying, please scan here to start the application process. These are the upcoming dates. And for attending this webinar, we do have a referral discount. So should you wish to apply for any of these, I will pull up our contact details in a moment and go over the promotion that we are running. So for attending the webinar, you will get a recording. We're happy to offer this referral discount if you have registered. So if you've secured funding, if you'd like to attend an upcoming program, you can get a 10% discount on tuition fees by answering the question, how did you hear about us, on page 3 of the application form. So you just select the alumni referral scheme and enter the referral code webinar 10. So these are our contact details for myself and Carrie. And so if you would like to reach out to book in a call and find out a little bit more about program and logistics, hopefully Helena and Patrick have provided the alumni perspective and Oxford experience. But I would love to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today. And should you have any further questions for the alumni panelists or wish to dive deeper into these details, please do reach out. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, and goodbye for now.